My presentation is based on a paper related to the main drivers of competitiveness of location, and I am Philippe Gugler, professor at the University of Fribourg in Switzerland. And my main activities are related to multinational enterprises, foreign direct investment, and in particular on competitiveness issues. As introduction, I may say that policymakers at the national as well as the regional and local levels consider competitiveness as a crucial question. A competitiveness allocation can be defined as a set of institutions, policies, factors that drive the level of productivity of a country. Allocation is competitive if firms operating there can achieve a high level of productivity. So the goal of this contribution is to address the major useful theoretical contribution that permits us to identify the main drivers of a territory competitiveness and therefore to assess the competitiveness of a specific location according to strong criteria. I will first present the major contributions of founding theories on territorial competitiveness. Then I will concentrate on two major schools providing significant thoughts on the competitiveness of locations, the Economic Geography School and the International Business School. So my presentation has three sections. First, the founding theories of modern economics approach on territorial competitiveness. Second part dedicated to the Economic Geography approach on territorial competitiveness. And third, the International Business approach on territorial competitiveness. First, the founding theory approach. So that means we can go so far to Smith that specializations within industries and across countries create absolute advantages for countries. Gain from trade are not only due to absolute advantages, but are also due to comparative advantages as shown by Ricardo. So trade among nations is created thanks to the differences in comparative advantages resulting from differences in labor productivity and in labor output across nations. So if you step to the neoclassical theories, according to the neoclassical theory and in particular to the exchange-holding model, comparative advantages of territories due to differences in factor endowments explain the ability of countries to trade. The role of government impacting the competitiveness of locations has been, for example, highlighted by Keynes. We have also the endogenous growth theory, pointing the finger of the role of human capital and technological progress are the drivers of economic growth and competitiveness in a specific location. And you have also the new trade theories, in fact, that they analyze the pattern of trade, particularly in the intra-industry trades, and are explained by differences in economies of scales, product differentiations, imperfect competition, agglomeration economy, scale labor, infrastructure, size of market, etc. So I can say as conclusion of this first part that all these pioneering theories provide initial insight that territories are different and that these differences explain the discrepancy in their level of prosperity and standard of living. The red line of these theories are the common denominator, productivity. These theories emphasize different factors impacting the level and the growth of productivity in a given area and therefore the degree of their competitiveness. However, these theories are not sufficient to more precisely identify the drivers and enablers of location competitiveness and to explain particularly the factors that drive the creation of economic activities, the expansion of economic activities by existing firms, the creation of new firms, and the attraction of foreign firms. For that reason, first we explain the economic geographic role and theories, and then the international business approach. As far as the economic geographic approach is concerned, so one of the major goals of the economic geography is to explain why some economic activities are developed in a specific location and why agglomeration of the same industrial activities or interrelated industrial activities appear in a specific location. For the spatial allocation of economic activities reflects competitive advantages of specific locations related to specific needs of particular economic activities. We can go back to Marshall. Marshall developed the concept of external economies and identified crucial effects and characteristics of industrial districts that influence the location of industry, such as the concentration of skilled workers in specific activities in specific industries. We can also go back to Krugman, the ability of regions to benefit from comparative advantages by attracting agglomerations of specific industrial activities reflect the regional divergences among territories as I said, particularly studied by Krugman. Michael Porter highlights the role of clusters that provide a geographical concentration of multiple firms and activities that play important externalities for the other components of the cluster. According to Porter, a cluster is a geographical approximated group of interconnected companies and associated institutions in a particular field linked by commonalities and complementarities. So, as far as the economic geography is concerned, of course, here is just a summary, of the main thoughts, but they aim to explain the drivers of concentration of specific industries and activities in specific locations. So, these activity agglomerations may be due to the creation of new enterprises, the expansion of existing firms, and the attraction of firms located elsewhere. So regarding the attraction of firms located elsewhere, the international business theories focus on the main comparative advantages of location attracting multinational enterprises, and this will be explained in the third part of my presentation, the international business approach of territorial competitiveness. The contribution of IB scholars dedicated to the location choice of M&Es supports and complements the theoretical thought presented above, with the geographical economy and the other theories. For example, we can go back to Raymond Vernon, developed the theory of interrelationship between the comparative advantage of the recipients and of the home country as drivers of trade and foreign direct investment. Heimer analyzed the spatial dimension of FDI in these studies, focusing on the concentration of M&Es in specific territories such as cities. Dunning introduced the ownership, location, internalization, OLI paradigm. Location-specific advantages, the so-called L advantages, of a potential recipient territory is one of the three conditions explaining why firms decide to internalize value-added activity across national borders. The location advantages reflect the assets offered by a recipient country, explaining why a specific firm has decided to invest in this specific host location. The spatial distribution of location-bound resources, capabilities, and institutions is assumed to be uneven and, hence, will confer a competitive advantage on the countries possessing them over those that do not. The theory of internalization, such as developed by Barclay, Cass, and Rugman, for example, together with the resource-based views, provide a rich background to understand the strategies that multinational enterprises use to benefit from the strategic interaction between the ownership-specific advantages and the location-specific advantages. Another important determinant of M&E's location is the geographical distance between home and host countries, a theory developed by the Uppsala School in a model studying the role of psychic distance on the internationalization process of firms, as developed by Johansson and Valne. The major IB contributions scrutinize the location advantages and join the economic geographical scholars in their effort to identify the location's inherited and created asset shaping the geography of the firms. So as a conclusion, that there is a strong relationship between a home country's comparative advantages and firms' competitive advantages as far as home country and host countries are concerned. So that means very important to understand those comparative advantages, to understand how economic activities are spread all over the world. Thank you very much for your attention.